And I miss you, yeah. Like the deserts miss the rain. And I miss you, yeah. Like the booty misses the poontang. What? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to John Felix, the channel. The channel represented by me, John Felix. Here I am, talking to you right now. Here's a video from OG.
Do you have unlimited authority?
That's how it starts. Do you have unlimited authority? This is a video by OG Gangster Mac, Jeffrey Marcus Gray. Just got off the phone with him. His channel is Honor Your Oath. I'll link it in the description. I will also link the video to my second channel, John Felix Audits. Please subscribe to that. Watch some of the videos on there so I can get my 4,000 hours. YouTube's playing the game. They're playing a little game. So we can play the game better. Ting. So this video is from part of this video is from 2013. Then the rest of it is from 2017 when Jeff actually sues this moron right here. Wait till you hear the rapist mentality on this cop right here. Everything's Jeff's fault for daring to exercise the rights that this cop swore to protect. And he told me he was on some federalized task force gang unit. So they had like extra sovereignty, even more sovereignty than the regular police, and would just run roughshod over everybody. Jeff said while he was in jail that the same squadron or whatever, cult, whatever this group of federalized agents were, just pulled up on him on the side of the road and just jumped out and put him on the side on the fence. So Jeff said I could cover this. Whatever. Subscribe to my second channel so I can actually get some cha-ching for what I do. In the meantime, I'm going to cover this video. I'm going to be interrupting a lot. That's what people want, believe it or not. And the ones who say I interrupt too much, you're at the wrong channel, dude. That's what I do. So here we go. This is 2017 after this guy makes a false arrest and solicits a trespass and just acts like a piece of sovereign garbage. And that's how he treats Jeff and his family.
To make requests? Do you have unlimited authority to make requests or demands on that day, on October 23rd, 2013? Did you have unbounded, unlimited authority to make requests and demands of Mr. Gray such that Mr. Gray's refusal to comply or acquiesce with such request or demand would subject him to arrest, could subject him to arrest for resisting or disobeying you?
Yes.
So basically, he thinks he could just, whatever he says goes, whether it's legal, constitutional, lawful, conflicting, on and on. So this is 2013. They got somebody pulled over. Jeff pulls in, gets out. He's like 35 feet away, and he's just recording the traffic stop. This is in 2013 when cops were still using the excuse that photography is interference under a law. Well, you'll see what happened.
On. Good. It's ready. What?
First thing out of his mouth, can you please surrender your right to privacy? And here comes dummy number two. Who's this guy on the right you see here is actually the guy in the court video part of this video.
Want me detained or anything?
No, you're not being detained.
What are you doing,
You
sir?
made yourself
Good, how
part
are
of
you?
this traffic stop.
Okay.
You made yourself a part of this traffic stop. What reality is this guy living in? He didn't make himself part of anything. He's observing. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I'm observing the traffic stop.
Who are you?
I'm a journalist gathering content for a story.
I'm sorry?
Journalist gathering content for a story.
For a story? What kind of story?
Just a story I'm working on.
None of your business.
Name your story. What company do you work for?
Hold on a second.
What's your name? Oh, let's see. You're one of those kind of guys. Okay. Well, do me a favor. Stand over here in the shade.
You're one of those kind of guys. He didn't do nothing to you. He didn't come up to you. He didn't walk up to you and start asking a bunch of questions. He hasn't broken any laws. He hasn't victimized anybody. Seems like the only people whose freedom are impeded are the person you're pulling over and then soon to be Jeff's.
All right.
But don't stand behind this deputy while he's conducting.
That's why I was standing more over there when you guys
Well,
pulled in.
actually, you weren't, sir. So stand over there, like I asked you to, so you're not behind this deputy while he's conducting business.
I'll stand over here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So now that idiot immediately goes to the property owner. He tells him to go deeper into the property and then goes and solicits a trespass from the owner like an idiot. Like this guy, Todd, you think these guys are on a power trip? Holy crap.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Now you're trespassing, so they want you to leave.
Now you're trespassing. Now you're trespassing now that I went and intimidated them into trespassing you.
Okay, you went and got her to trespass me. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not asking you. I'm not going to argue
That's
or
fine,
dispute
I'm
it with you.
I'm not going to argue and explain my tyrannical ways with you. Just, it's time for violence. Hashtag donut operator.
I'm telling you, leave and leave right now.
Leave right now. Can I get your name and badge on before I go?
Remember, leave and leave right now.
Leave and leave right now.
Can I get your name and badge number?
No, sir. You can leave and leave right now.
Okay.
So he leaves.
I'll tell my wife to move it.
I'm going to tow your car if you don't leave. Another threat to steal his property. Right?
I'll move over here on the public right away.
All right, sir. That's it. I'm done telling you. You're under arrest.
That's it. I'm done telling you. He told him to leave the property. He leaves the property. And then he puts him under arrest. Unbelievable.
Right.
Throws his phone on the ground and breaks it.
Put him behind your back.
Go back there.
Don't resist me. You don't have to tell me your name, and I'm not going to ask you again.
I'm not resisting. Why am I under arrest?
For obstructing justice and trespassing.
Obstruction of justice and trespassing. When he left the property. He said he'd have his wife move the van. That wasn't good enough for Gestapo here.
He told you to leave several times. You failed to do so.
He failed to do so even though he arrested him on public property after he left the public property.
I don't understand why you're being difficult, sir.
I'm just documenting.
Again, Jeff's being difficult, not the armed gunmen that are scared of their own shadow and had to go to all these lengths to put Jeff in jail for a non-crime against anyone. The only criminals here are wearing costumes and guns.
The traffic stop.
You're not related to media. You don't have a public relations card.
You're not related to media shows more ignorance on the cops' behalf that they don't understand that anyone is allowed to be media. That's the whole point of keeping government accountable. It's because we're not on your TV at night when you go home and lock it in doesn't mean we're not media. Learn the law you swore to uphold.
Media. Actually, I do. I'm with photography. It's not a crime.
Yes, it is a crime.
So he says he works for Photography is Not a Crime, PNAC, and this cop thinks that he said to him photography is not a crime and has the stupidity level to say, yes, photography is a crime. Wow.
Spread your feet. I'm not going to ask you. Don't pull away from me. Don't resist me in any way. Resistance will be futile and you will get hurt.
I'm not.
Resistance is futile. I'm Officer Stoll, and my vagina hurts so much that I have a catchphrase when I arrest people. Resistance is futile. My wee-wee hurts.
Resist.
If you don't tell your wife to cooperate, she'll go to jail.
Oh my God! Look what you did.
You hear him just threaten his wife too? Threaten him. If you don't tell your wife, blah, 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 she's going to get this force used on her too. And he told me that after the camera stopped rolling, that they were yelling at his wife and telling him they were going to take his kid into protective custody and on and on and on. Let's go back 5 seconds.
You will get hurt.
I'm not going to resist.
If you don't tell your wife to cooperate, you'll go to jail.
Oh my God, look what you did to my phone, man.
I didn't do that to your phone, sir. You did that to your phone.
Immediately lies about breaking his phone by throwing it down to the ground.
Travis, stop. Are you holding him?
I'm not going to resist. I'm fine.
I know you're not. Are you holding him? Okay, I got it. They're getting all right, sir. Watch your back.
Okay, what's the best way to go in?
Butt first.
Butt first? Okay.
Like yo mama.
You will be booked in as John Doe. And because you're not cooperating, you'll be booked in as John Doe, and you'll sit in jail for 48 hours until they determine who you are by your fingerprint. I'm not asking you again. I've already asked you once.
So you just heard him. He told him his name, but the cop is too butthurt to take his name now. He wants Jeff. He's literally telling him that you're going to suffer extra, and I don't care if you identify right now. I'm going to make you suffer extra, and you can kiss my ass, and you're going to see why I say that.
You want to play that whole bullshit with me? Go right ahead and do it at the jail. You can kiss my ass. That's what you can do.
How did he interfere with the traffic?
And this is the same guy right here, believe it or not, 4 years later. How did he interfere with the traffic stop? Listen to this cop-splaining magic he pulls out his ass right here.
Stop.
Well, again, it's almost 4 years ago, so I'll go off my best of my recollection, but
Please do.
he did something to cause Deputy Cook to stop his investigation, or he interfered somehow to cause him to stop his traffic stop to call for a backup unit. So, therefore, he interfered. That's an obstruction.
What? I got it. Let's hear that again.
Stop his traffic stop to call for a backup unit. So, therefore, he interfered. That's an obstruction.
He interfered because something made his officer stop and call for backup. Let's find out what that something was.
And to the best of your knowledge, as you sit here today, the only thing of which you're aware, as we sit here today, that Mr. Gray did or omitted to do, that prompted Deputy Cook to call for backup was photograph and or video record Deputy Cook's traffic stop. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're not aware of Mr. Gray having done anything else to prompt Deputy Cook to call for backup. Is that right?
Correct.
And yet, your testimony is also that it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that because Mr. Gray's photography and videography and or videography prompted Deputy Cook to call for backup, Mr. Gray committed the crime of obstructing the traffic stop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you hear this, people? Because Jeffrey Gray from 35 feet away was recording the traffic stop, Deputy Cook got butthurt and called for backup. And since he had to call for backup, which he didn't have to do, since he did, though, that means the person who scared him is guilty of obstruction. This is who runs around in your streets upholding, quote unquote, the law. Did you hear that? And then this is what they say on stand. This is he's got like a 3 chevron, 3 French fries on his arms. He's an extra sovereign.
And so, again, I just want to be absolutely crystal clear. Your testimony is that Mr. Gray obstructed the traffic stop.
Yes.
And he did so by photographing and or video recording Deputy Cook.
His actions caused him to stop his traffic stop, interfered with his
What actions were that? What were those?
traffic stop, which is what the obstruction is.
And the actions to which you refer that were undertaken by Mr. Gray were photography and or videography, right?
I'm going to assume being too close to it also, which is what made him nervous.
Your testimony was that Mr. Gray was 35 feet from him.
Too close, 35 feet away. So the only issue they had was the recording and the fact that they can't just run roughshod over everybody without a camera catching it. That was their biggest issue. From the start to finish, resistance is futile. You're one of those kind of guys. Threatened his wife and kid after you had him in the back of the car. Made him sit at the jail with his handcuffs for 45 minutes behind his back.
Is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
And so by photographing and or video recording Deputy Cook from 35 feet away, Mr. Gray committed the crime of obstructing Deputy Cook's traffic stop. Is that right?
Yes.
How can you say that on the stand? You sick piece of ass.
After arriving on scene that day, did Deputy Cook express any concerns to you about any risk of harm posed by Mr. Gray to Deputy Cook?
No. Whatever Mr. Gray was doing before I got there caused concern to Deputy Cook, which is why I called for backup.
And Deputy Cook, in calling for backup, conveyed the basis for his concern to you, right?
Yes.
And the basis for his concern was that Mr. Gray was taking photographs, right?
Yes.
Deputy Cook didn't convey any other details to you about what Mr. Gray was doing, right?
I don't think he did, yes. Correct.
So he was obstructing justice by literally making a record under the First Amendment of which they swore to protect. That's why they're in court. That's why they had to pay him.
Okay. You asked Mr. Gray to move closer to the building.
Yes.
What happened next?
I made contact with the director or manager of the building.
Here's where I get mad at the lawyer. Then again, easy for me to say on the armchair. But I would have said, why did you go and solicit the trespass to begin with?
And asked her if she wanted him removed from the property.
Why would you ask her that?
And what did she say?
Yes.
And what did you do then?
I went back and talked to Mr. Gray, told him now he's trespassing, and he had to leave the property.
Did Mr. Gray exit the private property onto and enter the right-of-way?
Yes.
And did he do that prior to you arresting him?
Yes.
And then what happened?
I arrested him.
So he left the property. Look at that stupid face. How slappable is that face right there? So he left the property as I instructed him to do, and then I still arrested him for trespassing. Isn't that funny?
On the right of way in front of this traffic stop.
So when you effected the arrest, you and Mr. Gray were on the right-of-way.
Yes.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Gray committed a crime by leaving his van in the parking lot after you issued him a warning to leave?
I believe it was part of the trespass crime, yes.
So someone...
He's saying because he left his van there and said his wife would take it, it was part of the trespassing crime. His van being on the property occupied by his wife and kid, he said he'd have her move it. She's not trespassed. The kid's not trespassed. She could have easily moved it, but your biggest problem was that he was recording your traffic stop. and all this copsplaining and all this crap you're saying on the record like an idiot, we can see right through it. You're not as smart as you think. That costume doesn't give you magical powers that your lies become reality. It's as plain as day. You're trying to be Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Resistance is futile, Mr. You're under arrest for some bogus charges, and here you are, facing your accuser.
Can be subject to arrest not only by refusing to leave after having been issued a trespass warning, but also by leaving property, personal property like a van, on someone else's property after having been issued a trespass warning. Is that your understanding of the law?
No, I don't think just leaving personal property on someone else's property is a crime. I think if you're trespassing and you're told to get in your van and leave, and you just walk
Which he wasn't told to do.
away and leave your van with your wife and kid in it, that's part of
He said leave and leave right now.
that element for that particular incident.
And I want to make sure I understand you.
Okay.
Okay. Your testimony is that even if he had immediately departed the property and proceeded on to, say, the right-of-way, but still left his van in the parking lot, he could have still been subject to arrest for trespassing after warning because of the fact that he left his van in the parking lot.
Not just because he left the van in the parking lot.
Why else then?
I guess the question would be,
What? I guess the question would be, no. You're not asking the questions.
why leave your van with your child and your wife in it when you could just...
Because he said his wife will pull up the van, and your butthurt rage didn't hear him.
get in the van and take the van, your property, off of the property that you're being trespassed from, and alleviate the problem.
That you solicited, and alleviate the problem. Here's the best part. He's going to blame everything he did, his department did, his oath violations, everything they did, the taxpayers' money they wasted, not only in the settlement that Jeff got, undisclosed amount, don't know what it was, hopefully it was $1 million, but also look at all this court and all this time, taxpayer money burnt up because they were butthurt that Jeff was recording their traffic stop. That's the bottom line. And he's going to say, you listen to how he tries to say that all the actions they took that were bad, wrong, unethical, and unlawful were because Jeff forced them to do that.
I guess that would be the question.
It's not the question.
Well, I mean, I know it's not the question, but to answer your question is no, it's not a crime to just leave property somewhere.
Okay. And that...
Then why'd you arrest him for trespassing when he left right now like you told him to? Man, this cop is a piece of garbage.
is the question.
Okay, yes.
My question is...
No, that's not a crime to just leave it there.
It's only a crime if he refuses to remove his person from private property.
So it's part of the trespass crime, but then now we go back to the obstruction crime. If I tell him, take your van and your wife and your child and leave this property that you're being trespassed from verbally, and you refuse to do that, now doesn't that go back to now he's not complying with that?
No. If you just obeyed your oath and put your ego away for 2 seconds, you would see that you're the problem. Jeff wasn't doing anything other than documenting where his taxpayer money goes. Sorry you didn't like it and you got that butt hurt and you've burned through this much money to prove a point of what? You cost everybody money. You're a liability. You shouldn't be promoted. You shouldn't have sovereign stripes. You shouldn't be a cop. Period.
I
want to make sure I understand.
If he would have just left, the problem would have been solved.
Okay.
If he would have just left, what if you guys would have just left him alone to conduct his First Amendment right that you swore to protect. Why isn't that a resolution?
He didn't want to leave.
Correct.
He wanted to photograph the traffic stop, right?
Right, which we told him he could.
Yeah.
And we told him where he...
When was this? Why couldn't he just do it from where he was at, 35 feet away? Because your butt hurt? Because you guys aren't used to it yet? Because you never consider the Constitution or the rights of the people when you go out and police?
do that, but he didn't want to do that either.
Yeah. And you told him that he could do that closer to the building,
Yes.
right? Closer to the private property,
Yes.
further into the private property from which you then
Trespassed him from.
trespassed him from.
Correct.
Right.
Isn't that great? And here's a reptile. I'm just kidding. Reptilian. Shape-shifting reptilian. Just kidding. And then I told him to go further into private property, and then I wouldn't solicited a trespass, and then I trespassed him and told him to leave and leave right now. And when he did so, I said he was still trespassing because his van was trespassing. Everyone's trespassing. And you're obstructing my justice. And man, my butt's swollen.
I believe if he would have complied and gone up on the sidewalk by the building to video all of the video he wanted or photographs, there would have been no situation. I believe if after he was told he was trespassing, if he would have got in his van and drove away, there would have been no situation. I believe if he didn't get out and walk into the grass there and cause some kind of fear or some kind of concern with Deputy Cook, I wouldn't have even had to come to the scene. So if he...
Or you guys could just, first of all, you could just obey your oath to the Constitution, not impede people's freedom for victimless crimes. None of this would have ever happened if you guys didn't enforce victimless crimes. None of this would have ever happen if you, while you were enforcing your unconstitutional crimes, you still upheld the Constitution and the right to freedom to film. And the fact that you're alarmed and distracted and alarmed by something that you swore to protect makes you look like an idiot. If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. If my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. If. How about stop enforcing victimless crimes? Take your stupid task force garbage. It's not like you guys have done so much for crime where crime exists. And your little costumes with your little Halloween decorations and stuff on them, you're not military. But I digress.
would have just...
No, I don't. Talk about here, look at that face. Talk about the rapist mentality. If you would just let me bang you, then I wouldn't have, if you just let me bang you the way I want to bang you, I wouldn't have to rape you. You don't have a right to freedom. You don't have a right to record. You made me do all these bad things to you. It's your fault, Jeff Gray, that you dared. You dared to break out a camera and record public servants in the course of their duties. By the way, Jeff's one of the greatest, the OG gangsters of all time. Subscribe to Honor Your Oath. That's about it for this video. Go to my second channel. I'm going to make a second video right after this one. Post it on there. Blah, blah, blah. Blee, blee, blee. In the meantime, here's the guard. Now he's probably still living off of tax dollars, retired somewhere, chilling.
I don't want to say, if he would have just been a nice guy, and if I said, hey, sir,
If Jeff would have just been a nice guy, he was minding his own business, exercising the rights that you swore to protect. If he would have been a nice guy, because guys showing up in force with guns, soliciting trespasses, saying you could kiss my ass, and you're one of those guys, and resistance is futile, all that stuff is respectful, but Jeff is the bad guy for daring to document what you guys do with taxpayer money.
just go stand up there and take all the video you want, but he didn't want to. He wanted to prove his point, and here we are.
If he had been a nice guy.
Yes.
Again, here we are because of Jeff, not because of you, moron. They can never take responsibility. Lawyer does a good job here.
He wanted to prove his point, and here we are.
If he had been a nice guy.
Yes.
You told him that he can kiss your ass, right?
No, I didn't tell him that.
You didn't say that?
I said it, but I didn't tell it to him. That was after the fact. That was his recording still going.
Okay. But Mr. Gray was the guy who was not a nice guy that day.
That is correct.
Okay.
Wow. Jeff is the bad guy here. Not all the criminals in costumes are sovereigns who go around not knowing the law, not upholding the oath. They're the good guys. They still think they have this persona about them. You're not the good guys. People fear your costume. When they see your costume, they fear you. Anyone that's not brain dead anyway.
The time is 12:42. That concludes the deposition of Brian Stoll. We are now off record.
So there you go, guys. Subscribe to Honor Your Oath. If you're still here, bless your soul. Please help me build my second channel, John Felix Audits. Would like to get paid for my videos so I won't have to work so much so I can make more videos. And by the way, people who say get a real job to auditors, here's your comeback, everybody. Say, I pay more in taxes as an auditor than you do at your real job. So why don't you do what I do and you could be a more productive member of society. Jeff got a settlement. I hope it's for $1 million. He said they harassed his wife and kid and threatened to take him away and blah, blah, blah. Stuff that wasn't on the camera. Anyway, peace, chicken grease. Love you long time. Bye.